Patty. I'm a health and wellness coach. In the video today, we're going to make rice. We're going to do it 3 different ways. We're going to make a basic rice, and then we're going to do a rice pilaf that has some onions, garlic, and spinach in it. And then we're also going to do a rice with some vegetables, with some mushroom and peas. And I'm excited for you guys to see how simple this is. And rice is really good for you. It's low calorie, and it only becomes a fattening dish depending on what you put in it. When people load it up with cheese and sausage and ground beef, things like that, that's when it becomes a little bit harder on your body. But what we're doing today is just going to be real whole foods that we're adding to the rice. And there's all different kinds of rices. Today I'm using a jasmine rice, and I poured it in a bowl just to be easier. You don't have to actually pour it out of your bag. But when you go to the grocery store, you'll see any number of rices. There's jasmine and basmati and long grain and short grain. There's brown rice. There's all different kinds. Just in the bags, it's very affordable, and you're gonna love what all the things that you can do with it. So today we're using jasmine rice, but just whatever your preference. The first one we're gonna do is a basic rice. It's just a plain white rice. It's very simple, and it's always 2 to 1. So you're gonna have a half a cup. We're gonna use a half a cup of rice, saucepan with a good fitting lid. So a half a cup of rice and 1 cup of water. So if you're going to use more, if you're going to use a cup of rice, then you'll use 2 cups of water in there. This is how simple this is. Put it on the burner, turn it on high. We're going to add just a tad of salt to it. That's maybe like a half a teaspoon, a splash of oil, just a little bit of flavoring. Now, put the lid on it. A good tight fitting lid. When it starts to bubble, we're going to turn it down on low, and then it'll cook for 15 minutes. Don't touch it, don't look at it, don't take the lid off of it. Be patient and go somewhere else, but make sure you turn it down on low because it will boil over if you don't. So turn it down on low, set your timer for 15 minutes, and then after 15 minutes we're going to turn the heat off and let it sit for another 5 minutes, and then that one will be done. Our basic rice is cooking. Remember how long we're going to cook that. We're going to turn that down in a minute. Now we're going to the next recipe. This is the rice pilaf. This is that lovely stuff that in a restaurant that you order salmon or any other nice like baked chicken, and it says it comes on a bed of rice, the rice pilaf. That's what this is. This is our recipe for it. You're going to love it. Okay, we're going to do a smaller recipe, so we're only going to use half an onion. So you want to dice that pretty well. We're going to not brown it. We're going to soften the onion and the garlic in the saucepan where we're going to cook everything together in one pot. We're going to chop up our garlic. We're going to let these cook a little bit in some oil before we add the rice to it. So it kind of gives it some nice good flavor. And when we add the rice, then we're also going to add the chopped spinach at the same time so it all cooks together. Our onions and garlic are chopped. We've got about a tablespoon or a little bit less of olive oil in the pot. And I meant to tell you about the pots. The pots that you use for cooking your rice need to have a pretty thick bottom on them, because if they don't, the rice might stick and burn to the bottom of it. And make sure that they're really good, tight-fitting lids. All right, so we're going to brown our, well, we're not going to brown. We're going to soften up our onions and garlic for a couple of minutes. Got this on about medium. You don't want to get them too hot. We're going to soften that up in our pot a little bit. Now we're going to also add spinach to this dish, so I'm going to chop it a little bit. Just a good bag of fresh spinach, good whole food. We all know how good spinach is for us. And remember, spinach shrinks a lot as it cooks. So it may look like a lot to start with, but it's not really. And we're going to use the same measurements for our rice and our water. We're going to use twice as much water as rice. So this one too, I'm going to use a half a cup of rice, and I already have a cup of water here measured out. So this is a fun thing too. This is warming up a little bit. Our onions and garlic and our oil. So you can see we're getting softer. Getting softer. So we're going to throw the rice in here with it too, and coat that with some oil too before we put the water in it. So that's a little bit different than how we cooked our basic rice. And if this kind of a little bit toasty, it adds some really good flavor to it. A little bit of oil on our rice. Now then, we're going to add our water. remember, it's twice as much water as rice. Actually, since we've got some vegetables in there, I'm going to add a tad more than that. So it's going to be a little bit more than double of your rice. And our chopped spinach. It's going to cook for the same amount of time as the basic rice. Let's get this all stirred in a little bit. We're going to put the lid on it. Actually, we're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper too. Here we go. A little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper. Same technique with the cooking. We're going to let this come to a simmer. You know, it's not going to be a big rolling boil. We're going to let this come to a simmer. We're going to turn it down on low. Let it simmer with the lid on it. Don't mess with it for 15 minutes. Here's our next one. This one's going to be delicious too. We're going to put some vegetables in this rice. So we've got the skillet with a little bit of olive oil in it. We're going to start off like we did with the pilaf. We've got a half of an onion chopped. We're going to toss that in the olive oil for a minute. And this one, this batch of rice, we're going to add English peas, these green peas. You get them. This is just a bag of frozen peas at the grocery store. It's $1. The bag's $1. So this we're going to add some onion and some English peas and sliced mushrooms too. It's going to be so delicious. Okay, we're going to start off like we do with the pilaf again. We're going to warm up our onions a little bit, get them a little bit cooking with some salt. There we go. A little bit of salt on it. And you notice we haven't put any other extra seasonings on this, but you can. Italian seasoning is wonderful in any of these rice dishes, even just like if you're going to do your basic rice. Any of them. If there's particular seasonings that you like in your pantry, throw it in there. Experiment. And what's really great, again, rice is so inexpensive. If you mess it up, you haven't lost that much money. So here we go. And you basically cannot mess it up. Same measurements again. Here's our rice. We're going to throw it in here. Half a cup of rice. We're going to stir it around, get it some good, get it coated with some of the oil too. It smells really good already. All right. And we're using the skillet on this one just because it's going to have a little bit more vegetables in it than the other ones. So I kind of needed a little bit more space. But again, it has a very tight fitting lid. All right, there's our rice. We're going to put just about a cup of English peas in there. We're not going to use the whole bag. You can just stick them back in the freezer and do anything you want to with them. They're wonderful. Okay, we're going to let these go in here for a little bit. Get my water. Yeah, we'll do a little bit more than a cup with this one too. Stir these guys around. Oh, this is going to be so delicious. And it's all real food. I can't wait for you guys to try your experiments with your rice. And you can add rice to anything. You can add it to soup. You can use rice like a pasta. If you have like particular pasta sauces that you enjoy, oh my word, you can use rice for that too. All right, there goes our water. Same technique, cooking technique. We're gonna let it we're gonna bring it up to a simmer. Put the good tight lid on it. And then let it cook for 15 minutes. Oh, and I'm going to add the mushrooms at the end. I'm going to slice the mushrooms up. We're going to brown them separately in another little skillet. And then when the rice and peas are done, then we'll throw the mushrooms in and toss them together. All right, our rice and vegetables have met their 15-minute mark, so they're doing their 5-minute sit. The other two are finished, but we're going to show them all at once. They're delicious, delicious. Now this one, remember, we're going to add some mushrooms. So I'm going to slice them pretty thick because mushrooms shrink up like spinach does. So I'm going to brown the mushrooms in a separate skillet while this is doing its 5-minute wait. Because the mushrooms won't brown if you cook them with the rice. And we kind of want them to have a little bit of something with them. So we're going to let these brown. It'll take about 5 minutes, which the timing will be perfect. And then they'll be ready to add to our vegetables with peas. I'm sorry, our rice with peas. The mushrooms are gloriously, beautifully brown. And also remember, when you're cooking mushrooms, this is anytime you're cooking mushrooms, not just this. Don't add salt to them while they're cooking because they'll give off too much water. And then they'll kind of steam and they won't brown, if you want brown mushrooms. Okay, so now we're going to add them in with our rice and peas. Oh, that looks so good. That looks so good. See how nicely that cooked? And this is also, even though it's a skillet, it's also got a thick bottom on it, and we had a tight-fitting lid. And that's very important when you're cooking rice. All right, we're just going to throw the mushrooms in. And this could totally be a meal in itself, but look how delicious this would be with like pork chops or any kind of meat on the side. Roasted chicken, and this is your side dish. Isn't that gorgeous? All right, so that's our rice with vegetables. It's got onions and peas and mushrooms. Here's our plain rice that you can do a million things with. There it is. You're just going to fluff it a little bit. It's delicious. You can add that to anything. I remember my mother making rice for me for breakfast too. My sister liked oatmeal, and my brother liked cream of wheat. I didn't care for those, but she would make plain white rice for me sometimes for breakfast. You might have had it too. I think she had a little bit of butter and maybe sugar to it. It was just delicious. But you can do anything with this. Okay, here's our second one. This was our pilaf. You remember, it's got spinach. Oh gosh, it smells so good. It has spinach and onions and garlic in it. So it did its cook time. We let it sit and didn't mess with it for a few minutes, and now we're fluffing it up. And that also is a perfect side dish. Any kind of lean meat or lean fish that you grill or bake or just cook on top of the stove, any kind of meats. These are just beautiful. And then we have our rice with vegetables. There it is. I hope you guys enjoy it. You can do so many things with it with rice. It's just the most versatile thing in the world. Thanks.